War ready, lawful Armageddon. All black like the kingdom of heaven. All black like my niggas is venom. Round here, most my niggas are felon. Ain't buying that bullshit you selling. Ain't chilling with niggas who's selling. They better digress. Blood of my blood, flesh of my flesh. Mess with my brothers, I'll put you to rest. I took a bitch ass niggas who do not mesh. Better rethink about who you gon' test. These niggas got put in the trunk of the leg.
Okay. All right, it's real. Y'all know what it is. Again, this is Sharpen the Sword Radio. All right, I'm your host, Captain the Bar, and today we have a special guest. We have a brother by the name of Zaki Baruti from the Universal African People Organization. You understand? Welcome, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Well, thank you, Brother Captain.
All right, no problem, no problem. Appreciate you coming out, man. You know, giving us your time, and I'm gonna answer a couple of questions. I seen you doing a little bit of work. You know, I seen you out in the streets before. I seen you protest with Kim Gardner. You know, for Kim Gardner. I've seen you. I keep forgetting that woman's name, but you held like a little press conference with the news over in Legacy for the sister that was almost raped by a cop.
Millicent Williams.
What's her name?
Millicent.
Millicent?
Right, Williams.
Williams, okay, yeah, that sister. Terrible, you know, incident, what happened with her. I saw you speak out on that. I saw you speak out on several different things. I even remember seeing you back in at the, what do they call it, Ground Zero, Ferguson?
Yeah,
they call it Ground Zero. I remember you were at Ground Zero, you out in Ferguson, you know, and I believe you've been doing what you've been doing for a long time. So I'm gonna give you the opportunity to give, you know, a little spiel about, you know, yourself and your organization and what you're doing, what your goals are, you know, before we get into the questions. So go ahead, brother. You got the floor.
first of all, I just want to give praise to the Creator for allowing me to be here. Secondly, a sincere thanks for the invite to share who I am as well as information about our organization. As you may mention, my name is Zaki Baruti. That's my cultural name, simply means charitable teacher by profession. I'm a former educator in East St. Louis, Illinois. I've been involved in the movement for transforming the lives of black people since I was about the age of 17, 18, currently I'm 73. Of course, there were high points in my life that I thought the quote-unquote revolution was right around the corner, but of course it's not. We are in a very protracted struggle. As May mentioned, I am a former educator. I've written a couple of booklets on education. One was entitled Challenge the Building of a Clean, Prosperous Black Community through Our Educational System, as opposed to the conspiracy. A second, the challenge part 2, Can We Do It? As an educator, I'm a former strong union activist, second vice president of our teachers union, as well as chairman of the Political Action Committee of Local 1220 American Federation of Teachers. In the community, I'm a former political chairperson. I come from East St. Louis. I was born in Mississippi, West Point, Mississippi. I was raised in East St. Louis. Former chair of the East St. Louis Black United Front Political Action Committee. Worked with the Black Panther Party for a number of years, distributing the newspaper in both the St. Louis area and the East St. Louis area. Moved to St. Louis approximately in 72. Very involved over here. Started a group that was called the Caucus for Community Progress, which put together Missouri's first statewide Black People's Political Convention. We had 3 objectives for this convention, where we had a couple hundred people from across the state of Missouri in attendance. Those objectives were: 1, to educate whoever was in attendance to state politics; 2, to draw up a platform of concerns impacting Black Missourians; and the 3rd, to encourage Black people to run statewide. In fact, we originally wanted an all-Black slate for the 5 statewide elections that was up in that year, which again was in 1984. We accomplished our very first two objectives, educating people about state politics as well as the platform. But we couldn't get nobody to run statewide, asking all of the main politicians of that day would they run. And that included like William Clay Sr., J.B. Banks, who was state senator, John Bass, who was state senator, as well as other elected officials. In that we couldn't get nobody to run, I tried to practice what I preach, and I ended up running for governor, state of Missouri. For there were 7 candidates. I came in 4th. It was a grassroots candidacy where most of the black politicians or Negro politicians went with the white candidates. I ran a second time in 1988 and shocked a lot of the political pundits because in the state of Missouri there's 10% black population according to the census, and I generated over 19% of the votes, close to 87,000 votes that year on a small budget. As an extension of that, and mine is going back though to 1984. At that time, there were no black governors in America, as well as out of 100 United States senators, not one was black. So our concept was to begin to challenge the powers to be at those highest levels of government. And that was one of the main motivating factors for us to challenge the powers to be. After the 1988 election, the people who were with me during the campaign, we decided to continue the struggle on a political level and even expand that internationally. So we formed the Universal African American People's Organization, but we dropped the name American about 10 years later, and here we are, the Universal African People's Organization. We founded the organization in the spirit of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, who, as everyone should know, had the largest mass organization of black people in America under the auspices of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and the African Community League. To that end, our organization has our motto, one God, one goal, one destiny. Marcus, Honorable Messiah Garvey had one goal as his motto, one aim, one destiny. We just changed aim to the word goal. When we say one God, we know our people have a lot of, how shall I say it, different relationships with, quote unquote, the creator, something that's greater than us. So we say we believe in the creator, but we say that our basis of unity ought to come from the fact that we are oppressed and we're people of African descent or color, and so bound by that we should come together. We say one goal, that goal should be the liberation of us as the people. We say one destiny, that destiny would be a new day where we are free, but that would have to come through our protracted struggle for justice. To that end, our major thrust over the years has focused on social justice. Our organization for a number of years was part of what was called the Coalition Against Police Crimes and Repression, where we have dealt with a lot of high-powered profile police murder and assassination of black people dating back to Marilyn Banks, a young sister who was sitting on, in 1983, who was sitting on her front porch minding her own business, a mother, a daughter in our community. A white racist officer named Joseph Ferrario was chasing another sister who he knew and knew where she lived, but as he was chasing her, he pulled his pistol out, shot at her, missed her, and shot and killed Marilyn Banks, which caused the outrage. So we were part of that outrage, speaking out on for some justice around that issue. He was the very first officer, I believe, that was charged with murdering somebody, from our community. But of course, they changed the jurisdiction. His trial was moved to Kansas City, and he was found innocent of second-degree murder.
Right.
Which speaks to the whole, what we call legal lynching many times in America, because in the past, as everyone knows, we were lynched by white crazed mobs for love nothing, today we are shot and killed by white officers for love nothing, and in most instances they are set free. Some of the other high-profile cases that we've been involved in here in St. Louis in particular included Marlon Carter, another young black youth who was shot as he was running away from an officer in the head and the buttocks by a white officer named Eddie Sanchez, who later on was fired because he had illegal weapons in his car. There was a brother who was beaten to death, even though he was doing wrong. He was caught doing burglary, but with his hands up, they still beat him. And the white officer named Dotson, and the young brother named Julius Thurman. I'm just highlighting a few cases.
Right.
Another case involved, of course, the international and national case of Mike Brown. We were very involved in that. In fact, my brother Anthony Shahid and myself were the first ones that actually put together a serious protest around his murder. And we formed the Leadership Coalition for Justice for Mike Brown. And then you have the national cases which we are operating around. And the last but not least case, Jason Stockley, the white boy that shot and killed Anthony Lamar Smith. And they went over his police dispatch where he was saying in the police case, whenever we catch this MF, we're going to kill him. And they did catch him and they did kill him.
Yeah.
So those were some of the high profile cases. Politically, we've been very involved. We push a concept that's called proportionate political representation. That simply means that whatever percentage we are as a people on the national, state, and local levels for government, then we as a people should have that percentage of political power. It is projected that black people are 13% of the United States population, and we say 13% of all the elected positions in America should black people live like us. But the reality is that in 2020, over 511,000 publicly elected positions like school board members, city council members, state representatives, state senators, governors, U.S. senators, not one, we are only about 4%, whereas we should have over 66,000 elected officials. We only have about 20,000. And we say that, especially in light of the fact that we live in this country and pay taxes, then it makes sense that we should seek those political power. That was one of the motivating factors that was required again when I ran for governor in 1984. As I mentioned earlier, there was no black governors. Fast forward to today, 2020, out of 50 governors, still not one black U.S. governor. Out of 100 United States senators back in 1984, there were none. Today we have 3. We'll be minus 1 if Kamala Harris end up being the vice president, whereas we should have at least 13. We should have at least 7 governors. So that's our political fight. Last but not least, we also push to try to uplift our people in whatever manners we can. We've had several what we call international humanitarian efforts. One year we shipped, our first year of being as an organization in solidarity with the independence of Namibia in 1989, we shipped about 70 boxes of new clothing to Namibia to celebrate their independence. In the year 2003, we coordinated along with some other organizations, but we coordinated the thrust of sending 450 boxes of clothing and medical supplies to Zimbabwe, which I went there to dedicate. In 2004, we shipped 450 boxes of food, water, clothing, medical supplies, education material to Haiti in the wake of the hurricane that year, Ivan. In 2006, we shipped 9,000 books to Ethiopia to a non-governmental agency where, again, we're going to dedicate those books. In 2011, when Haiti was hit by an earthquake, we raised about $5,000 to send to a non-governmental agency that help them. And last but not least, in 2015, we shipped about 10,000 books to Ghana to help in the building of a library there. As well as most recently, we have adopted this Wallbridge Elementary School where we bring in different supplies to the young people, coats and clothing, and et cetera. As you know, we for 3 consecutive months distributed per month over 1,400 boxes of fresh produce to the people in conjunction with the mayor of the time. So with our small group of people, I'm very proud of the kind of work that we have done, but it's much more to be done.
Okay. Okay. All right. You've been pretty busy. I see.
Extremely busy.
Yeah. You got a couple of things that you had mentioned. I want to, you mentioned brother Shaheed, Anthony Shaheed. The protests down the street on Goodfellow and Delmar
Right.
at that BP.
Right.
When that I believe it was the guy that worked there was African. Am I correct on
No,
that?
you were Arab.
He was Arab?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought the one that actually kicked her was an African.
No.
Oh, he was Arab?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. When they kicked that sister, stomped her out at the at the gas station, I went down there and I interviewed a couple of people at the protest. I talked with Anthony Shaheed real quick. Would you say that was a good turnout as far as that protest went? And I'm talking about the entire thing, or do you believe that was a mess and something that should not have ever happened?
When you say it should not ever happen, you mean the protesting of itself, or these
I'm talking yes.
of the incident where he kicked the sister? Which of the two you mentioned?
I'm talking about the protest.
Okay. Well, anytime there's injustice, it needs to be addressed. That's first from my perspective. So, in that spirit, because it was an injustice, and I had been personally called to come and be with some of the younger protesters.
Right.
Had
I
kicked off
remember
that.
seeing you down there.
Yeah,
I remember seeing you down there.
and I did come out there to support it because we, as an organization, try to support other organizations and their call for justice.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was a good turnout. Now, there are some elements that occurred after the protest that, because we did not stay consistently with what they were doing. Okay, we came out for that day, and I understand they had some backdoor negotiations with some of the folks who were in the lead process. That did not include Shaheed, but with other folks. And that the matter, because of those negotiations, that whole piece kind of like went off the front page into a whole other element.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem that I had with it, the negotiations weren't transparent to all who had been involved in support of it.
Okay, and now the total agreement that they came to in the end with the backpacks for kids for school, give back to ask the Arabs to give back to the black community. Do you think that was something that should have been asked of them to do?
Well, you know what? That's a great question. I believe every business that's in our community, including Arab, our own black entrepreneurs, and the white entrepreneurs, are to give back to our community on the real side. Based on the fact that their livelihood depends on the dollars that we spend there.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're reaping huge amounts of dollars off of our people, then yes, they should be give it back. And as I said, even black businesses, because too many times our people who do well once they do well, we get, those who's less fortunate in our community.
Mhm.
And for our community to rise up, we need everybody on board to give their due portion of share and benefits that they derive from, their businesses in our community.
Mhm. But when you say that that's off to even ask them to do that, when it's obvious, it's apparent that each nation of people only care about themselves and their people. So the Chinese that are in the community, that I've never seen them give back.
Right.
The Arabs that's in the community, I've never seen them give back.
Right.
The white people that's in the community, I've never seen them give back. So wouldn't it be better to say, you know what, let's get them out of the community.
Oh.
Let's not go to their
Okay.
businesses and let's establish our own. Wouldn't that be better than to go, I mean, because me myself, I didn't appreciate the whole deal that went down.
Okay.
First off, they have been mistreating our people since they've been in our community. They sell us stale food and they overcharge us. You know what I mean? They do all kinds of things to us. Okay, and at a point we should turn around and say, you know what, you have to go. Because you're not going to give back. And then the thing about the protest, it was terrible. The things that took place out there, like I said, I don't know who was in charge of what, but it was evident that no one was there and was making sure that things went, say, like properly, right, or
Right.
wouldn't get out of hand. There was a whole lot of out of hand stuff going on down there at the protest. Then to turn around and make the Arabs take anger management classes and give backpacks to kids for schools. I mean, that's what class are we going to teach them to say, hey, treat black people better? You know what I'm saying? That whole thing, like I said, but rather than bargain and say, you can stay if you give me a backpack. You can stay if you take a class and learn how to treat me. You know what I mean? And instead of saying, you know what, it's time for you to go. So who ran the deal? Who, or I don't know if you know, or who actually sat down at the table with them and came up with those terms to have a sensitivity class on how to treat black people and to give away backpacks?
If you remember early on, I said that there was the younger set of protesters that, quote unquote, put that together. And I was not,
okay.
I hope you heard me on that. And
No, I did. I mean,
I was not down with that whole process that went
Mhm.
forward. Well, I think you touched upon the greater issue of other ethnicities being in our community and reaping huge economic benefits from
Mhm.
our community. I look at it on two levels. First of all, I agree with you absolutely that they should not be in our community.
Mhm.
But the only way that we can get them out is that we have to have conscious people that don't patronize them.
Mhm.
That's the bottom line. So, on a personal note, and we carry it to our organization, let's just say, for instance, getting gas. By and large, I only get night gas from people who look like us.
Mhm.
And there's only 2 service stations here in the St. Louis area that's owned by us.
Right.
And just for anybody who might be listening, one is on Kings Highway and Natural Bridge.
Yep.
And then there's another one, Conoco, that's on Page Avenue, near North and South Road, just west of North and South Road.
Mhm.
So I consciously, go to them to put my money back in the community. I consciously, whenever we used to have a black-owned grocery store for a moment here, Sterling's Grocery. So we would just go to Sterling's grocery store to get our food.
Right.
But that has, because we had different shopping days where we encouraged the whole community to go and shop there. But because of the lack of support, then he ended up failing, although he
Right.
still have another small store over in East St. Louis, Illinois, which we support.
Mhm.
So that's, first of all, is that we have to have a whole new way of thinking in our community. But in that our thinking is where it's at right now, then we say minimally, then if you're going to go to the Arab store and we can't keep you from going there, then damn it, make sure that they give back to the community. The Chinese make sure they give back to our community. White folks make sure. If you don't do that, if you know, for that segment of our people that cannot see just supporting ourselves. So minimally, there's some things that we say that each of our people need to be responsible and do. And that's going back even to politics. We know politics ain't going to be our total salvation. But if you don't pay taxes, then damn it, then you ought to at least vote, because those who are in power make those decisions that can impact your life. Those in power, let's say for instance, you had made mention about you seeing me with Kim Gardner. Now, for the longest, our organization has been, prior to Kim Gardner, we've been pushing for someone to, like us, to be elected to that position. Dating going all the way back to when, in 1992, Albert Walton was a candidate for a prosecuting attorney as an organization. We supported him, and but he lost. When I made mention of the young man named Garland Carter being shot in the head in the buttocks as a fight back, I personally asked a young black attorney, because you have to be an attorney to run for circuit attorney, named Donnell Smith, to run, because a prosecutor has two most powerful decisions. One, whether or not to charge a person. I mean, those are the issues, whether to charge a person or not charge. Many times in the past, you have white prosecutors that quickly charge us for crimes that we probably didn't commit, or try to put on more sentencing or harsher charge because of our pigmentation.
Right.
So it makes common sense to me that if you don't pay taxes, then again, then you need to put people who are closely aligned to trying to help our people. And that's why we supported Kim Gardner, because Kim has been an advocate for a change in the criminal judicial system. Instead of just locking people up and sending them to prison, then she has created what was called a diversion program. Instead of a person on a first-time non-violent offense, instead of being sent to jail, they have some community work. She also said she put on an exclusionary list a number of basically white officers who have been accused of violating our human rights. So it's common sense then, if we don't pay taxes again, and those positions only exist that impact our lives, that we support that kind of change. So we're saying that within the context of us living in America, that there's some basic stuff, voting, demanding businesses be accountable, changing our educational system to teach our people their true history and their contribution. So those are some of the basic tenets that we push. And again, I just want to emphasize that, number one, we agree you should be supporting black-owned businesses. First and foremost, common sense. Secondly, though, if you gotta support those other businesses, make them accountable. When you go into businesses, say for instance, automobiles. I can recall when buying an automobile. Personally, I've been saying, give me a black salesperson. You know what I mean? You know, so that's what I'm saying in terms of how we have to deal with what is in front of us on the real side.
I got you. And you mentioned voting too. That goes to my next question. So obviously you vote, right?
Yes.
Okay. And which party do you consider yourself?
I consider myself an independent.
Independent?
Yes.
Okay.
And let me be clear on that. I ran as a Democrat, but also I ran a third time in 2000 as a Green Party member. For me, because it's difficult to run as an independent by their laws. The laws say that you have to have X amount of signatures. And normally, when you have to get these signatures, I always usually have to be double the number because they throw out a lot of signatures. So just as a pathway to be on the ballot, that's why I chose the Democratic Party at the time I did. But I feel like Malcolm X, and paraphrasing him, both the Democratic Party, I'm talking about as a whole, one is a wolf and one is a fox. I'm talking about the Democratic and the Republican Party. And they both come from the animal kingdom, and they both evil. So that's my views. We say people over party, in terms of when we say vote for a person, you need to look at their history of involvement first and foremost. Second, their platform in terms of what are the issues that they're addressing. And so that's how we approach politics. And since we're mentioning politics, we just, as I made mention about us supporting the re-election of Kim Gardner, but our organization also was very involved in the St. Louis County executive election. St. Louis County executive, almost similar to a mayor, but of a greater region, over a number of municipalities that's combined for St. Louis County. And we were involved in this election as an extension of two major social justice cases in St. Louis area. In 2018, there was a car crash on Airport Road. And it was reported like a one-car crash. In that car crash, two black men were killed. One of them was a member, son of one of the members of our organization, which I got to call from. And she had shared with me that the police, Missouri State police officer, that came to her son early in the morning by 4 a.m. to let him know about his brother's death. In the conversation, the state police said that the family may hear different accounts of what happened, but just believe their account. They said, damn, how you coming on like that? So the next morning, the family went to the scene, talked to some people in the community, and they said it had actually been a police chase where the police had chased somebody, whether it was the car that crashed or someone else, and they drove right on past the crash, turned their lights out, and kept going. So to that end, we got involved as an organization, myself personally, went to the site, did talk to some people, in fact, talked to a former police officer from Atlanta living in that area, and everybody said it was a car crash. So we called a press conference, to call out the police on it. All of the TV stations was there, but Channel 2 did the better reporting of it. Later on, after we had the conference, about 11 a.m., about 2 p.m., representatives from the St. Louis County Police Department came on and emphatically denied that there was a chase. Now, we just count on the words of our people, our people versus them. And when you court of law, but it normally happens here in America. But by the grace of the Creator, the brother and myself, we canvassed the area to see if any businesses had video. And by the grace of the Creator, we came across a business that had video that showed the chase. And it just showed you how God worked. That same business was going to discard the video that day, and we caught it. So we were able to get the video, showed it to the TV stations that then showed it publicly. So we were able to get the police officers fired. But that's after we had been going to the county council meeting saying that there was a chase, but they looking at us like, hey, here's some Negroes just, you know how they do us. Right. Then, that was in 2018. Then last year, I had a call from Millicent Williams, a young lady that 63-year-old grandmother, mother, who was visiting her son in the hospital, coming home late, about 2 a.m., and had been pulled over by a white officer who I call humiliated totally.
Absolutely.
Told to get out of her car, get your ass out.
No, I got you.
Get your ass out of the car. Cause she did not immediately stop. She was trying to get. If she was on a dark road,
Right.
knew where it was a lighted business, a 7-Eleven, pulled over there, driving a Mercedes, tried to defuse the circumstance. Said, "I'm married to a former St. Louis police officer," but that had no effect on this racist
None.
boy. He made her spread eagle, body searched her, handcuffed her. She said she was so afraid. And she said this publicly, she urinated on herself and searched her car without her permission, didn't find them, and eventually let her go. She said, what did I do wrong? He said, she weed. And so that outraged me personally, because it could have been my wife, could have been, my mother. So we were protesting at the county council. And because of our protest, they brought in the extra security and what have you, but saying that white officer needs to be fired. None happened. And again, to make changes, that position, the county executive was up for election, Sam Page. And so we said, well, we're going to challenge them minimally past just protesting to seize power. And so to that end, our organization had what we call a 1-2 punch, where we would have a sister that would run as a Democrat in the primary election, and a sister run in the in the primary, but knowing she'll end up being in the general election as a Green Party candidate. Names are warned, but it was at least our effort to keep speaking truth to power. The sister in the Democratic primary did, after just 4 months, purely a budget, generated at least 14,000 votes. The sister in the Green Party did 16,000 votes. So there's a consciousness, although small, out in our community. But the problem is, many times you got Negro politicians that go and support these white candidates that don't give a damn about black people.
I agree with that. They don't. And speaking of the Democrats, now that Joe Biden has been elected, what do you think will happen next?
First of all, I've just been telling some of my comrades, number one is I could not vote for Biden. And I want to be clear. I did not vote personally.
Did you vote Trump?
No, I did not vote Trump. What did I just say? Vote for a fox and a wolf. Let me tell you why I didn't vote for Biden personally. Our organization is a Pan-Africanist organization. And I've been blessed, I didn't share that earlier, to travel extensively. I've been to about 34 countries. And one of the countries I've been to on a number of levels, great country of Libya. And I've had an opportunity to meet Muammar Gaddafi, who you probably know pushed for a strong United States of Africa, which I think is very important into the 21st century. He also helped fund the very first African satellite. Most of his money went there. As you know, he also made huge donations of dollars to our movement here, the Paraguay Nation of Islam. And when Mandela actually got out of prison, one of the first persons he went to was to Gaddafi, as well as Fidel Castro, to thank them for their support. So, Gaddafi has been very supportive of the liberation movements of our people. But it was under Obama and Biden administration that pushed by the wicked witch named Hillary Clinton. Got no problem saying that because I didn't vote for her when she ran for president. That pushed for the United States to get involved in the unrest that was occurring in Libya and supported the overthrow and murder of Gaddafi. That for me, that was one of the worst crimes of many crimes against Africa, which was led by the Obama/Biden administration. Because I know Biden had been in on those discussions as to, when the United States decided to basically attack Libya. And so anyway, that's the history behind me not supporting Biden. What I think may happen, and another thing, for this election though, like we strongly, against Hillary, in one of our newspapers, we clearly went with the Green Party candidate named Jill Stein. We didn't take an active role in this election because of so much fear among black people toward Trump, who is a total outright racist, especially when and our people can't never have short memories when he made the statement that the number of the African countries are shithole countries, and never forget under the what was that, New York 5, what was the point in New York where Trump put out a full-page ad?
Something 5. What's the name?
Central
Park.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. And Trump put out a full-page ad advocating and calling them the young men beasts and all that. And they eventually were found innocent.
Yep.
Yeah, so, his history is what it is. So again, one is a fox and one is a wolf. But in that Biden has been declared, it's still not over, I've been telling my friends, because the Trump administration is going to appeal a number of decisions in the various states, and it may work its way all the way up to the Supreme Court, which he has already packed with his conservative judges. So I'm saying that the game ain't totally over, and our people, it may be an overt way of stealing the election. The wolf said, damn the fox, I'm going to take it out. So we got to stay tuned. That's all I can say on that.
I got you. Okay, a couple of things that the Democrats are known for, is raising taxes, higher taxes. Let me see, abortion, same-sex marriages. How do you feel knowing that you yourself turned around? You said you was a Democrat, you ran Democrat once, and then
twice. Yeah.
Oh, twice. I'm sorry.
Right.
You ran Democrat twice.
Again, let me clarify, because that was easy accessibility to be on the ballot, because you didn't have to go through to be on the ballot for a candidate. You had to have thousands of signatures, and we didn't have to have the capacity to put together thousands of signatures to be a independent candidate.
So, as a Democrat, do you support those things also?
No, same sex, brother. No, I'm not really down with that behavior. So,
What about the abortion of innocent children?
No, I'm not personally against abortion.
Okay. What about Biden and Harris? Biden and Harris, the incarceration of thousands of black men. I just spoke with one the other.
Incarceration of what?
A black man.
Oh yeah. Well.
I just spoke with a brother that was just released. He just did about 30, 35 years, hard years because of the different policies that they have put in place back then. And just like I said, just knowing that the Democrats, like you said, one is a fox and one is a wolf, both of them are animals, basically. And you're running in a system, you're in a system, and I would say, I believe I heard you before us, in the streets, you fight for equality, right? And justice.
Basically empowering our people to be treated humanely. Let me also be clear in terms of our position. We publish a newspaper that's called the African News World.
Right.
And as an extension of what had happened in Ferguson, on the front page of our newspaper, we had a big question mark. And the question was, police violence, America on trial, moving forward, how do we respond? And we saying this in a general sense as to the different options for black people as a mass. So we say one option is reform. Reform within the context of living in America and making those changes to help improve our political and economic and social reality in America. That's why, reform is like pushing for community control of the police, being involved, voting, and etc. Okay? Put it on there. That's reform. Then we say a second option, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad used to teach, as well as Marcus Garvey, is to separate from these folks. Get the heck, create our own reality, like a mass gathering of, living formation of black people. Honorable Elijah Muhammad used to say the 5 southern states. Okay? Garvey said we all need to move back to Africa. Okay? So that's an option. Third option is revolution. The complete overthrow of this economic system called capitalism, which is an extension of capitalism, imperialism. Okay? So theoretically, for me, the highest and the best of all of them, but it'd be much more difficult than all of them, is revolution. And know why I say revolution? Because even within the context, if we had mass movement out of the country, these devils or these imperialists can still impact us as per the example of what happened in Libya because of their military forces here. So those are just the options. We got to do something. And all our people are at different conscious levels. And I'm saying, where is your conscious level of the charts? Well, fourth charts is just continue as we exist, Right. So that's where we at as a people, and that's how I see our worldview of moving forward. So in that, at this point where we're at right now, we're pushing reform right here. But as I said, but also, I'm not past total separation. I'm struggling with my family now about just getting the heck on up out of here and going somewhere else. Because, as I mentioned, I started in the movement when I'm 17, 18. I'm gray haired now. and I'm seeing the oppression as tough as it is. And sometimes I go back to the biblical scripture of Genesis 7, when sometimes I feel like Noah. In fact, I had a dream around Genesis 7 where, Noah, after preaching there's going to be a flood, and the folks laughed at him, and, what happened according to the scripture right there. So, but the hour is so deep right now in defining history that people, whoever's listening, got to do something. Either you're going to fight for a change in this country, or get the hell out of this country, or push for a total revolution. That's how I see it.
I got you. And you mentioned separation. Commander Junior Hunter of the ISUPK has been teaching that since 1969. We do need to separate from the other nations of people, and we're going to get on that, the Africanism, African spiritualism as well. But as far as you voting and trying to be in an unjust system, how do you feel trying to vote and fight and push for justice in an unjust system?
Again, it becomes frustrating sometimes, on the real side. Just as I was speaking out at the St. Louis County Executive Meeting, we protesting, nothing being done. So voting was just a tactic to, again, speak truth to power and But again, it becomes frustrating when, especially when you're not able to get masses of your people to see the significance to vote for people who best represent themselves. And because they follow blindly some so-called established Negro political leadership, we just tell them to vote for their choice, who if they really looked at the record of the person that they're pushing, it would make common sense to go against them. Just again, an example, and we said Republican, Sam Page, who's the county executive, I said Republican. In fact, they had a rally, Sam Page must go. Couple of examples. He has never taken a public position on the white officer who violated the sister that I mentioned. He never took a public position on those officers who lied that they had not participated in the police chase. He just recently, through his Board of Police Commissioners, hired a white racist female who made a public statement that there's no systemic racism in the St. Louis County Police Department. When COVID-19 hit, the first two testing sites, they were placed in West County and South County, and didn't get into North County until after a lot of pressure from black folks.
Right.
Clear example. But because some so-called prominent Negroes, well, let me digress. Prominent Negroes said vote for Sam Page, the masses of our people without due study, and that's another thing that we got to have, is our people got to do much more study of those candidates in their position. Just follow blindly the lead of those established Negroes who probably been the pork chops under the table from that same white bloc. And that happened in the St. Louis County election. And as well as one of the things that many black political leaders try to push is that some of our candidates don't have a chance because of little or no name recognition. Now they won't have a chance because if you don't push them and other folks become known and know about them, then they don't have a chance. So, in the Democratic primary, there was a great, if our people had the vision and understood the issues, you had three white major candidates running. You had Sam Page, Jake Zimmerman, and Manavani. And then we had the sister that we had asked to run, Jamie Towser, who did excellent in 4 months, was starting off with no name recognition. After, though, we had asked a couple of elected officials to run who won. But if we had a solid black vote, that sister could have possibly won going up the middle of those three white candidates. But again, established leadership, because of money, receiving money under the table, pushing their candidates, and masses of our people not being politically educated go with them. So it becomes frustrating. So, it's not, and remember now, I had said that voting is not the all in all for the salvation of our people. I'm very clear on that. That's just like when you have war, you do a lot of different tactics to win it. And that's just one tactic to try to get to a point where we are in a better place as a race here in St. Louis, in the state of Missouri, and throughout the United States.
Okay, I got you. I'm going to ask one more question as far as the politics, and then we'll get to the next one. As far as all of the work that you've done, all of the years, and the different running for, different political positions yourself, the pushing of other, black people in those positions, trying to, make change and fighting for justice and all of that, would you say that you have made some progress? Can we see the light at the end of the tunnel, or do you believe that we have been going backwards and spinning our wheels, trying to so-called be free in a system that is has no worry or care or conscious mind of even freeing us at all, and being equal with us at all? Do you think that, like I said, you made progress, or do you think we're going backwards?
You know, that's we've had both progress and backwards.
Mm.
You know.
That's heavy. You just said
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yes, man.
And when you look at, now let's look objectively,
Mhm.
the history of black folks in this country. From the point of abject, and we're starting in this point only here in this country, because before this country, of course, we were on our own land, we were the kings and the queens, and you know, according to history, we were in a much better place. But with abject slavery, of course, there has been some substantive change for our people. I'm sure you will have to agree there, because under abject slavery, they could come into the quarters, raping our women. You know, we had to work from sun up to sundown. And then the whole period of outright lynching, the segregation, where we did not have the absolute means of empowering ourselves to the greater level that we should. So, in terms of quality of life, there has been progress on that. But the degree of progress, I guess, is the issue. Because still for the masses, well, let me go back. Because within the progress of us as a people, there has been a group of us, our people, the athletes, the entertainers, some of the businessmen that have been able to attain economic quote-unquote success that allows them the material gains to have their life lived comfortably.
Mhm.
But for the masses of our people, yeah, we went backwards to a greater degree. And that backwardness is the deep unemployment, the homelessness that exists, the imprisonment of our people on little no reason, the drug epidemic, the circumstance of black men sagging like they sag in terms of no reflection on the kingliness of themselves. In fact, can I share this story? I never forget this story, because in my years of being out here fighting for justice, never in my mind would I have conceived where I see large groups of black men sagging, showing their ass, basically. And never forget an incident where it speaks to the deep psychological damage that occurred to us on that end. But I was pulling off a parking lot, and a young brother had two pair of pants. I wish people could see me when I describe. One pair was right at his knees, and another one, the second pair, he's sagging. And he got his hands, two hands holding the one that was at his knees, and he's walking. I couldn't believe it. So I immediately stopped. A young brother, about 19, 20, got out the car and said, "Black man, you know you're a king?" And he immediately started pulling them up. But what messed me up was, at that time, also we have these grills in our teeth. And he smiled at me. And you know what was across his grill? And as he smiled, mind you, I said, "Black man, you're a king." And as he smiled at me, he had the word king in his grill. So I'm making the point that deep down psychologically, that whole kingness of him was in his soul. But he has been so miseducated and misinformed that his behavior was as I had described. Two pair of pants, one sag and the other one at his knee. And he's walking like that, like an idiot.
Right.
So, I don't know, did I get too
I guess,
far?
no, I understand. I mean, hey, you said we made progress, but we're going back.
Hey.
And that means basically we're going nowhere. You know what I mean? So that answers that. And
Which
we actually
again speaks to what I said, that if we're gonna be in this system, we have to do something, reform, separation, or revolution. When we made some progress politically, we made progress locally with black elected officials in the city of St. Louis. At one time, it was predominantly white. Today, out of St. Louis elected positions, which is 7, we now 9, we hold 7 of those positions. But again, we're taking, we control St. Louis County, St. Louis Circuit Attorney position with Kim Gordon, a fierce fighter for justice for our people. So that's progress on that end. But then the flip side of it, with the elected officials, still the conditions of the masses of our people is still in bad shape.
I got you. Now I want to get on the African part, because here in the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge, Humanities Junior High teaches that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are God's chosen people, and that we are Israelites according to the Bible. And I want to try to find out, what is your proof that black people are Africans?
My proof that black people are African. Well, let me just start with this. Because, the reality is, in our community, we got a lot of different theories. Would you agree there? We got
as far as our nationality?
Our nationality.
And our race and all, yeah.
Also, your name is Captain?
Degal Gabar, which is Hebrew.
Gabar Qatar. Okay. I could go outside and the person that your services that you rent from, John Nix, I call myself Zaki, Baruti. We all label. I'm just making a point. The point is the labeling of ourselves, that we all label ourselves differently. And I say that from the perspective going back to how we identify Africa. I identify Africa because currently that particular land base is entitled Africa, and we all come from there. And so that's my own personal association as far as my own, how I identify. Just like I identify myself as Zaki Baruti, I identify myself as an African because from that particular land base, that name, which has been accepted by billions of the people who live on that continent, and I identify with them.
Okay. So you have any family, or your father, anybody from Africa, or you just believe, you just saying we all came from there, what they told us?
I believe we all came from that, but I've done a family tree, and the family tree goes all the way back to a sister coming off a slave ship in Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, named Betty. Named
Yeah.
So that's as far as I go back to mine. Of Africa. Although I've also
just go down to all seasons in the bag. So we took Babylon too much. Go ahead, bro.
Okay. Also, I've been to the continent a number of times, as I said, and while on the continent, all of the people that I interacted with identify themselves as Africans, but from a particular country of Africa.
Right. So we're 56 countries in Africa.
Right.
Which one would we be from?
Like I said, I have no idea. I would like to think everybody know that most of the slave trade came from the West Coast regions, Senegal, Gambia, Ghana, Sierra Leone, along that whole line, a little bit of Nigeria. And for me, on the personal side, my first trip to Africa, which was to Senegal, was for me my for me, I can't speak for nobody else,
Mm-hmm.
my spiritual rebirth in the country of Senegal and my real identification with that.
Okay. And I want to read something real quick. You ain't got to lock it down. Since you mentioned coming off the slave ship, so that's basically where you're saying we're Africans because we were put on ships and
We
from
were
Africa
snatched.
and brought here
Right.
to America, right?
Right.
So that's your basis for saying that we're Africans, correct? That black people, Hispanic people, Native Indian people were
Originally,
African.
yeah.
Originally from
According to archaeological study, anthropology study, that mankind has been traced, the origin of mankind to Africa.
Mhm. Okay. Now, I heard you mention the Creator, right? Do you believe in God and in the Bible? I heard you mention the Creator, right?
That's created.
Do you believe in God and in the Bible?
I believe in the Creator.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there is a force that is greater than thyself.
Mm-hmm.
And I've personally read both the Bible and the Holy Quran. And I don't get into calling myself a particular religious entity.
Mm-hmm.
I just acknowledge that there's something greater than me. In my prayers, I may say Allah because I have a closer affinity, I guess, to Islam. But again, I personally advocate that people ought to read both in their entirety, the Holy Bible as well as the Holy Quran. That's where I'm at.
Okay, I got you. Now, since you read it, right? In the Bible, do you remember the children of Israel being named in the Bible? You remember that?
It's been a while since I read the
It's been a
Bible.
while. Okay.
It's been, I'm getting ready to reread the Quran. Ironically started last night. I read them back in the early 90s, or in the 80s. Yeah, it was in the 80s.
Yeah, you know, 2068. Good.
They were in the 80s, so, and as you know, there's many stories and scriptures in the Bible as well as in the Holy Quran, so,
I got you. Just off the top of your head, you can't really recall.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
right.
Okay, well, in the Bible, right, and the brother's about to read it in Deuteronomy 28 and 68. You mentioned you did a family tree,
right.
and you found it goes back to a sister that was on a slave ship,
Right.
And she brought her to America.
Right.
And this is what God prophesied in the Bible that will happen to the children of Israel if they disobeyed him. Go ahead and read that, though.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Okay, now, make a long story short, to kind of give you context, the children of Israel were once slaves. You know how we slaves here in America? We were slaves in Egypt. The Africans enslaved us, right? And the Lord turned around and freed us from that slavery. And he used Moses. Moses is the one that led us out of that slavery. And now the Lord is saying that if we don't obey his laws, if we disobey them, break them, then we will go into Egypt again with a ship, right? Now, this is not speaking to the Africans. And matter of fact, get the definition for Ham. You mentioned Noah before also, right? When the Lord turned around and destroyed the earth with the flood, 8 souls were saved. Noah in that ark that he built, right? And then I believe it was what was it? 7, 2 clean animals, 7 unclean animals, something like that.
Okay.
Of every animal and that was on this ship with him. And the Lord turned around and he repopulated the earth with Noah's sons and their wives. And You turn around, and that's where the children of Israel come from, God's chosen people. And we were in, like I said, we were in slavery in Egypt, and then we come out of there. And the sons, the three sons that Noah had was Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And we're going to read the definition of Ham, and we're going to tell you who he is, the progenitor or the forefather of. Go read it.
This is the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. Ham, the youngest son of Noah, probably about 96 years old before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races.
He became the progenitor, the forefather of the dark races. Keep going.
Not the Negro.
Not the who?
Not the Negro.
Not the Negroes. I have never heard an African be called a Negro, but I have seen old signs where you can look this up, where they're actually selling these now for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. To where the old signs in papers that they would have, they say Negroes for sale, not Africans.
Right.
You know, and but Ham, he is the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes, right? And hold on, and I'm gonna,
If I can
go
interject
ahead.
though, you know, and you absolutely said it didn't say Africans for sale, but again, if you do the study, you know, they defined us however they wanted. There were the name changes, you know, if you go to Africa, many of the names are not Bill or John or what have you. So, as well as if you look at the translation of Negro, Negro comes as an extension of the Spanish word meaning black.
Mhm.
So, again, you have people, the wicked people, defining us in their manner as to how they look upon us.
Mhm. That's true. And you know that we only started being called African within the what is it, 30-some years with Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson is the one that coined that phrase African American.
Right, he said African
You know?
American, but no, there were others who were calling us Africans even prior to Jesse. So let's we can do diligent study. Okay.
We have, and
All right.
we're going to find out right here. Finish reading that definition, because the Negroes, the ones that went on them ships, and we're going to pull another a piece out too. They were Ham is not their father, not the progenitor, the forefather of the Negroes. Keep going. It said the dark races. You know, because Africans are dark skinned like us, you know, in most cases, you know, and but not them. And now it's going to break down who he is. Go ahead, read.
Not the Negro, but the Egyptians,
The Egyptians, the
Ethiopians,
Ethiopians,
Libyans,
the Libyans,
and Canaanites.
and the Canaanites. All of those are African. That's where all the African tribes, you know, people come from Ham, but not the Negro. Now go in. You had your hand up. You want to say something? Go ahead.
Acts 13:1.
Huh?
Acts 13:1.
Not yet.
Okay.
Give me
But you just, I mean, and we
Go
can go
ahead.
into these dialectics, and we still be at a different level possibly. Again, that's why I don't get too deep in terms of, you know, people's spiritual outlook, because I think everybody got to decide for themselves how they interact with the Creator. But you did mention in that script or your comment that the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, you say they Africans. Did I hear you say that?
yes, those are the Africans.
So
The Ham and his sons, the Libyans, the Egyptians, the Canaanites, and who else?
and a number of them are dark skinned. Haven't been there myself.
Yeah, they have dark skin.
Okay then. So the point is then again, if they are the Africans, then again that stands for substantiate what I was just saying as far as us as a people being from Africa. I mean,
Well, not necessarily, because it says that he is the progenitor of the dark races. It says that. But it says not the Negroes. This race is separate. It's dark. The Negro race is dark, right? And the African race is dark. But it says he is not the progenitor of the Negroes. So just because we're dark, like, okay, like for instance, there are some East Indians that's dark, right? You ever seen some? The ones that own the 7-Elevens and Dunkin' Donuts?
Right.
I've seen them, they're blacker than me.
Right.
You've seen some, I've seen some Chinese people
Right.
that have been blacker than me.
But that goes back to what I was saying, that humanity comes from the continent of Africa.
But that's not true.
Well,
Civilization started in the Middle East, in the plain of Shinar. That's in the Bible.
Well,
and not in Africa. And we could pull the scripture on
okay,
that.
But then, see, we could get into a lot of deeper even issues on that, which I'd rather not go for real. Because, there's a train of thought that information in the Bible is not correct information. So, that's why on a personal level, I try not to go there, okay? And I would rather for us to deal with issues, the current political issues and the economic issues.
Right.
Because the reality is this, as we here in this country, if you were to go out and say in Ladue and pulled over or wherever, the oppressor would not get into oppressing you because of you being an Hebrew Israelite, simply because you're a pigmentation. And that's the issue, part of the struggle for justice is the question of pigmentation, because we have a racist system, that you have a system of capitalism, quote, racism, that impacts us all regardless as to how we look at the spiritual level.
Right, but on that I disagree with you on, because you're saying that you're saying that the police will pull you over because of the color of your skin.
Yes.
Why haven't they pulled over Africans because of the color of their skin and blown their brains out? It's only been happening to Negroes. I have not seen it. It was one African recently that I saw. I think it was last year. That was, I think, mental or something like that. He turned around and had a knife or something, charged police. I can't remember the whole story, but they did shoot him because of whatever act he was committing.
Well,
but I have not seen any African being murdered by cops.
Okay, let me give you an example of one.
Do it.
And I can't remember his name, but he was shot over 40-some times in New York because he had pulled out his wallet. He was from West Africa. In fact, our organization was in Springfield, Missouri, because of a hanging of a brother from Kenya, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Africans here in America are impacted, and I try to bring a couple of brothers in to share their stories.
So that's two.
Well, you cited.
African?
You cited.
So there would be three.
Yeah, three.
So there's three that we can think of, but I can count all day long where white people have been murdering, oppressing Negroes.
Well,
because of the color of our skin. But you said the police look at the color of your skin when they pull you over. And I don't believe it is simply just the color of your skin.
Okay.
I mean, it has to be something deeper. Because if it was the color of your skin, the dark-skinned Arabs that are here that I've seen, they would be getting shot and killed by police. There was an Arab that did something here in St. Louis. What did he do? They turned around and they apprehended him. They didn't shoot him. They didn't kill him. You understand? And they've been known to blow up buildings and everybody. But they nicely and securely apprehended him and turned him in. You know, they didn't mistakenly grab their gun, immediately grab their taser. They didn't do that to them. But they're dark skinned. Like I said, with the East Indians, you know, they're dark skinned. I've been in some of their businesses before. Well, like I said, they come out of the hey, I'm looking to help you, and they darker than me. But I have not seen any of them being murdered by cops. You understand? And the reason being is because it is much deeper than just us being dark skinned. It is because when you go into the story of the Bible, you'll find the birth of the progenitor, the forefather of the so-called white man and his races, and the black man, and you know what I'm saying, and the forefather, the progenitor of the black race, the Negro, the Israelites. You understand? And it was a beef between those two in the womb, to where they didn't get along then. And what are we doing right now? We still don't get along. White people still hate us. And this is something that has been passed down since their birth, and it's in the Bible. And the reason I was bringing this up is because that touches a point. I'm asking you about the African spirituality, because I want to know, how is that going to fix the problem? You know, us getting back to, I've been seeing people wearing dashikis and carrying ankhs and claiming Africa. My dad, he had a big, it wasn't like a real chip, it was something that, you know, somebody made, big old African thing on his neck. My grandmother had a chain, a gold chain with Queen Nefertiti on it. I've been seeing this since I was a little kid, and I'm trying to find out, how is African spiritualism, you know, so-called getting back to our African roots, celebrating Kwanzaa, doing whatever Africans do, eating fufu and couscous. How is that going to turn around and fix the problems that we have here in America? Is us because if we're Africans, why hasn't that fixed anything? I'm trying to get to the solution. So that's why I brought up the Bible, and I wanted to go. That's why I asked you to believe in God, because I wanted to get to that story and bring out some archaeology and show you that black people are not Africans. And we've been pushing that we are Africans, and I haven't seen that fix anything. So that's what I'm asking you. And when I wanted to pull another piece out to show you that the people that went on them ships were not Africans at all. So go ahead.
Okay. First of all, a couple points. Nothing has been fixed for our people out of any kind of ideology up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree? Even the philosophy that you are advocating. None has been fixed.
No, that I disagree with you.
Okay.
It is working in here.
Okay.
It is working.
Okay.
I've seen it.
I mean, I'm talking about for the object economic and political conditions of black folks in America. This is my brother.
Okay.
You know, I thought they got to deal with
Yeah. Go ahead. You gotta take a break. Take a call.
Yeah,
Go
let's
ahead.
take a break right there.
Yeah, go ahead. Go take a call. Yeah.
Hey, Tony.
So, I definitely want,
What's up?
give me,
I'm gonna interview.
get Galatians 4 and 26 ready.
Oh, okay, that's right. Okay, good. All right.
Get Exodus 11 and 7 ready.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Yeah,
Okay.
so, you know,
Let's
and
go
it's
back.
heavy that you
Let me-
said that. Oh, go ahead.
Let's, and back on?
Huh? You on? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Don't get confused. I've never said that Afro spirituality is the end all for our people. I do support us having a different approach and look on Africa. That is for me cultural enrichment. But as I had made mention, I go back to the period of the Black Panther Party, which used to, as you say, look upon just being cultural. It's not an end of itself, salvation for our people. It's important as far as transforming our mind of looking upon ourselves in an inferior manner.
Mhm.
Because historically in America, I can remember coming up that, you know, the projections of Africa was like folks living savagely, you know, per the Tarzan movies and other kind of movies. So the whole piece of the Afrocentric movement as a movement to try to transform how we look upon ourselves.
Mhm.
And I saw that as a positive manner. So,
Okay.
but anyway,
I got you, but I mean, Africans truly were, swinging from trees like monkeys. They do that there in their country. They got all kinds of weird things that they do as far as the people. Now, when you go,
brother, let me ask you a question. Have you been to Africa?
No, I haven't.
Well, then I would have to respectfully, totally, absolutely disagree. And I think our discussion can only really go forward on that until you have actually had that experience.
Well,
I mean,
don't have to actually go there in order to know. I can research, right?
No,
And that I've done.
No. You need to go there. I'm saying that you need to go there.
I mean, why do I have to go
Just as you're
to
saying
research?
what I need to hear from you on that, I'm saying that's what you need to do. And then maybe we can have a real other kind of conversation. Because that's how I see it, and that's how you see it. So we'll be totally at odds with how we look at life.
I got you, but the thing is how is well you just said that it's not the
It's not.
be all. It's not going to solve the problem basically. And this is like teaching blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, African spiritualism is the same as sending them to white man's school to teach them Americanism about all of the great white people in the world and celebrate all of their holidays, do everything like them. Teaching them African spiritualism is the exact same thing. You are trying to teach a person a culture that does not belong to them. Trying to enrich Africa's culture, how has that fixed the ghetto in America?
Did you hear me earlier? I said it has not fixed it.
I know
That's
it.
the politics. Just as you, nothing has fixed it of our problem as of 2020. Where is this date? The problem that we are facing is still real and existing.
It is existing, but we have the answer and the solution to the problem here in the ISUPK. Go ahead. You want to say something real quick?
I think when one of the issues is verbs that we're using. So when we say African, right, we don't mean an inhabitant of that continent. We simply mean descendants of certain tribes. We're not Africans because, yes, we live on that continent, but we are not descendants of Hamitic tribes. So, for example, the Phoenicians would be from Canaan. They would be Hamites. What we're saying is, yes, we live in that land. We were born in that land. But tribally, we're not the same people.
Right.
So just because we're from that area doesn't mean we're the same as them. So yes, they have a great culture over there, but it's not our culture. Our culture stems from somewhere else, and then we were spread around the world, as the Bible tells us. We were spread around the world, but just because we lived in a place doesn't mean we are those people. We are. That's why he kept saying sons of Ham, and we're sons of Shem. We genetically go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who trace up to Shem, who lived and grew up in Canaan with Phoenicians, with Philistines, with these what we call African nations. And then, even in that, we're speaking of Africa now as Africa now. Biblically, the land of Ham, it wouldn't be Africa, it would be the land of Ham, which would be what all those sons got. And that land extends up past Israel, where Israel is today. Now, we think of Africa now as the continent that we think of it as, because first off, we have to remember the Suez Canal was not there. That whole landmass was connected. Mm-hmm. So we're calling, right now we're saying Africa, or I believe what you're saying as describing as Africa, is only post the Suez Canal even being put there, because Saudi Arabia was always Africa until the Suez Canal. Israel was always what we would now consider Africa until the Suez Canal. Mm-hmm. So we have to when we're saying we're not Africans, we're not saying we're not from the landmass. We're saying we're of a different tribal descent. And this is the history of our tribe's descent. And that's why we're saying giving us their culture is just like giving us the oppressor here's culture.
Right.
Because as we know, certain tribes sold other tribes into slavery. Well, we're saying that our tribes that were sold into slavery were not the same tribes as were selling.
Right.
And the ones that were selling us are different people. That's what we're saying. And we're saying that they still live there and they still own the land. And yes, there are a few of our people over there, but we're not the most people. We don't have the dominant cultures in those areas. So when you see those cultures, they're not us. That's what we're saying. That's what I'm thinking is the biggest difference, because we're getting hung up on African, like African is a people. African was not a people until the white man gave it that name.
Right.
The Africans now go by that name because that's what they're known as globally. But always, until this day, and before that, they were known by their tribe, not an entire continent. That's why they warred so much. They weren't a homogenous people. They were split, divided. Their tribes. They still are. Like even in those 55 countries, there's how many dialects?
Right.
Like there's Bantu has like 7 or 8 different dialects, so they don't even understand each other. And that's just the Bantu language. So
Right.
it's not that they're not a homogenous people. But what we're saying is we're a different group. We're a different group. We live there. We were a minority there, and then when we got shipped over here, even less of us were there. So that culture that we see isn't ours. It doesn't belong to us. And we keep trying to put our foot in somebody else's shoe. We need to get back to our culture. Like, for example, when you were just talking about the young man who had the grill that said king, every African does not view himself as a king. Every Israelite was told that there would be a nation of kings and priests.
Right.
So that's in our spirit. That is who we are in our core. That's our culture. That's not their culture.
Right.
That's what we're saying. That's the biggest difference. And I think we were just getting hung up on the verb.
And if you read that in the Babylon, the Timbuktu, Rudolph Windsor went in Africa and did some research. You know, the movie Roots, right? Alex Haley went and made that movie, what was it, 10, 12-part series. Great movie, right? It won, how many awards did he win? And oh my God, it went crazy, right? But Alex Haley went off when he sold us off as Africans. There's no way on heaven, earth, hell, any part of America to where you would sell your own grandfather to be a slave, your own uncle, your daddy, your mother, your sister. Who in history did that? Nobody. The Africans did not sell Africans. The Africans sold Israelites. And he about to read that real quick, because when you mentioned that about your one of your ancestors being on a ship and coming from Africa, and I wanted to show you what that woman knew, who she was before she got here to America. Go ahead and read.
In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it is estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery.
1 million Jews fled into Africa. Okay? And now keep on.
The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves.
Black who?
Jewish slaves.
You don't say Africans, do it. You don't say Africans at all. And now the part that on the movie Roots, right, where Kunta Kinte turned around and got beat, right? Changed the name to Toby. What that symbolized is how we lost our identity here. we've been searching for an identity. Like we've been going through, you know how people say like a midlife crisis, an identity crisis? That's what we're going through here. So we're trying to fit in somewhere. But I remember my father saying, you cannot fit a square peg into a round hole. It just is not going to fit. And us trying to identify ourselves as the other nations and people and to take on their culture, it's just not fitting. And you had said something. You said that we need to do something, you know. But in the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge, Commander General Yohana teaches us to do the right thing that's going to work. Doing something, like it gets like what you said. It gets some progress, but then we turn around and start spinning our wheels and going backwards. You know, we have to turn around and do that one thing that will work. We are willing to do 99.99999% of everything else except for go in this Bible and turn around and accept your true identity and accept who we are as a people. That will work. Now you said, you know, you haven't seen anything work. I have. I've seen this work. What we teach, what Commander Junior Hunter teaches in our school is getting brothers off of the streets from committing the crime, selling the drugs, treating black women like whores, and black women actually being whores. In her is stopping because we're giving them their culture back. This is their culture. You can identify with what? Being a slave. You can't identify with being an African because we were slaves.
But on that point, let me interject. So I guess you would have to then acknowledge the Nation of Islam, their work then, is that correct? Because they get the brothers off the streets and the sisters off the streets.
Well,
in that form of political. Yes or no? Do they get them off the streets as you do?
No. The Muslims were known for selling big drugs and using big drugs. I know a bunch of Muslims. They sell it, they use it. They are really not getting off the streets. They are actually hiding what they're doing. They're doing it in a what they call it, a mosque or whatever. I have seen with my own eyes Muslims get high and snort coke. I've seen it. Now I ain't saying every last one of them do it.
But, you know,
I'm not saying that every last one of them snort coke and get high.
Hypocrites now.
No, there's no hypocrites in ISUPK.
Okay.
Commander General Yohana is not a hypocrite.
I said among
every group.
I say among every group.
Right,
You can't
and
say
I'm
that
saying
everybody that's part of any movement does not do that runs contradiction to the philosophy.
Well, the Bible says to know them that labor among you. So I know my brothers, and I know they're not hypocrites. So, but like I said, but I've seen some, and I'm not saying that all of them snorted coke. I'm not saying all of the Muslims sold drugs, but I've seen a lot of them do that.
But would you agree or not agree that they have recruited a number of people from off the streets and changed their lives? That's the issue.
They have recruited people off the streets, but they have not changed lives. That I have not. Go ahead. I have not seen their lives change.
Okay. Well, we can go on that, and okay, and I had made a commitment 2 hours.
Yeah. It's almost at the time. It's just a few more things.
The biggest problem with the Muslims and the Nation of Islam is that they do use a partial strategy. They actually, if you look into their history and do research around the time of Malcolm X, when he was just getting into the Nation of Islam, they were sending people to our school to learn. So they started to learn things from the Bible. In fact, even one of the scriptures that we use that show about how the other nations are against us, Malcolm X wrote in his Bible that's in the museum, Negroes. They were sending people to our school to learn and understand the Bible and to learn how to help fix our people. But the problem comes it's when you introduce that little bit of poison. The poison is in each person's religious or historical text, they are the first class citizen and everybody else is the second class citizen. In Islam, in the Quran, the Arab is the first class citizen. Everybody else is second class to them. Now, giving that to black people still makes them a second-class citizen in the belief that they practice, which contributes to you falling off. Like you were saying about giving you that positive image. It doesn't, because it still tells you that the Arab man is the one that you should be following. The Arab man is in front and you are behind. We follow a dark-skinned black man by the name of Yahweh, Jesus Christ in the English. And that is what restores us, because we give the full truth. It's a lot of groups out there give partial truth, but
Right.
partial truth still leads to downfall.
Right.
Partial truth is what makes you take steps back. So, like what the captain is saying is true, and what you're saying is true. Yes, they change, and then they go back, because they don't have the full truth. They don't have, like, they'll change, but then that change is not lasting. When he's talking about in here, we build lasting changes because they have the full truth, and you see yourself as that king. In fact, the Bible, once you realize that you're an Israelite, and the Bible says that God says that you're gods and the sons of the Most High. He was only talking to Israel. So that means that an Israelite man is God in the eyes of God. He is a power in the eyes of the Creator. Other religions and other historical documentations of that nature, like the Quran, the Vedas, they're all the champions. They're all who everyone should be looking up to and following. Everybody else is second class. So that I believe that is the simple discrepancy is, yes, you see the change at the beginning, but the fall off rate and the people who go back and the people who step outside of the line. And this is what Captain said is, like, we have never seen our people follow these laws the way that they're written in this country. It's never happened. Christianity doesn't teach us how to do that.
Right.
The only time we've done it was during the time of David and Solomon, and we were the biggest, baddest empire on the block. We had kingdoms bringing tribute from hundreds of miles away because we followed these laws. And every time we don't, we get punished for it. And we keep falling off. So what we need to do, is what Captain's trying to say, is we need to get to these laws, because these laws have a moral code that isn't determined by you or I. It's determined by the Most High, our Creator, and He tells us what is best for us and the best way for us to govern our lives. And I can't change, for example, salvation in this book is only for Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
Right.
I can't, in my heart of hearts, save a white man if I wanted to, because God made that decision. I don't control that. I just follow Him and choose to do what He says, because that is the law. That is what governs us. In these other religions, especially when you have, the other person is on top and you're second class to them,
Right.
it leaves room. It leaves a little wiggle room. It leaves a little room for error. So that's the difference. It's a completely different system that we've never seen implemented on a scale like it was back then. We see all these other cultures and systems. Like Kevin said, we've been taught that we were African since we were children, babies. We've grown up in that mindset, going to that culture. I even have, things of my past that I was really strong into that. But the problem is, it wasn't me. It wasn't our people. And so it can never guide you morally.
Right. And my thing about that is, like I said, I've been seeing it, and I have not seen any changes, in our people, to where I can say, okay, you know what, that's the thing that will work. But once, like he said, teaching people the whole truth, teaching Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians the whole truth, that I have seen, like the elections about hope and change, every election. You know what I mean? I have seen people come in here with absolutely no hope and change. You understand? I myself was one of them. I had no hope before I came in here. Then I turned around and commanded Junior taught me how to change my life by actually giving me my true identity. You know, and like you said, teaching them African spiritualism help a little bit, help enrich them in the culture, you know what I'm saying? But it's just not that thing that's going to do it. So we have to turn around, and at one point, we have to be a real leader. Commander Johanna is a real leader, right? He's the only leader for Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians. And he is doing that one thing. He ain't wavering. He ain't shifting. He ain't saying this. He ain't saying, okay, we'll take a little piece of the Arabs, like you said in the Quran. The Quran even says, see if you can find that, they don't call it scripture or precept. I forgot what they call it in the Quran. Yeah. It says where God would choose Israel. It says that in the Quran. Now, this is the book of the Arabs. But why, if Allah is an Arab God, why is he choosing Israel? You see what I'm saying? And like I said, for Muhammad that taught, Islam to, what's his name? Elijah Muhammad. You understand? He turned around. The Muslims and the Arabs are not trying to get totally down with black people. That's why the oil that they sell, black people don't get all that oil. They get diluted. You understand? The stores. The only somebody I seen working on this black was sitting outside sweeping up the trash for a damn beer. You understand? I don't see them. I'll tell you something else. A guy, I got a business that I own, and rehab business, and the brother he's a Muslim that I was working with. You know, he come over with a contract. He asked me to help him. I come over with one. I'll go help him. Things like that. And he turned around that new mosque out on in Hazelwood. Well, it's not new now, but 10 years ago they rebuilt that. It used to be a bank, and they rebuilt that out there, right? Those were the Arabs. Okay, when we came in, they were starting to pray. And do you know that he had to pray in the back? He couldn't get up there with them and pray. He started taking off his shoes. I thought he was going to turn around and undress. He got so excited. He turned around and started taking stuff off. And I was like, what are you doing? Because I didn't know. I'm not a Muslim. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what you doing? He said, oh, man, we finna pray real quick. Then they came and they asked me too. They said, are you a Muslim? You gonna pray? I said, no, I'm not. So they said, okay, no problem. They left me alone. But he got in line with them, and he had to go and pray in the back. He couldn't even sit right there amongst them and kneel down on his knees and pray to Allah right there with them. He couldn't do that. And that's what he was saying as far as us being second-class citizens. We are second-class citizens in everything except for our true culture, which is us being Israelite. In Islam, we are second-class citizens. We're not number one. We don't get the bean. They made that up. Elijah Muhammad made all this stuff up to where it's like the black version of the Islam, because they don't want to turn around and be one with you. Even with Christianity, they let you make the black church. They turn around, and the preacher in slavery will let you come to his church, not to worship God, but to turn around and give you scriptures and make you a better slave. It was a movie that just came out that they started doing that soon as the movie came on. Wasn't it Harriet, I believe, the new Harriet movie? They turned around, had the black preacher standing up there preaching to the black people. This is when they started turning into the black church. They started teaching, the slave must obey the master. When in the Bible, that's not talking about being whipped and having yokes around your neck and around your ankles and shackles and getting raped and getting hung, getting burned, and getting your children sold, and you working all day and all night. In the Bible, slave is just simply a servant, someone that would work for you. You understand? That's all it is. But they took certain things out of the Bible, just like every religion does, and they turned around and using that stuff against our people. So what Commanding General Yohana is, like you were saying, making you conscious, he is giving our people the absolute truth that is going to help wake you up out of that sleep. And he made a post last night about Kamala Harris and how this is going to be the biggest bottle of NyQuil that God's chosen people have ever swallowed. And no dose ain't even going to help wake you up for this. Because here it is, they pushing, I seen a meme where it said, Rosa Parks sat so another little girl could walk, so Camilla could run. You know what I mean? Like, they really believe, and they don't understand that Camilla Harris was responsible for locking up so many black men. And she's coming out now saying that African Americans are disproportionately incarcerated and treated and everything else. She's saying that now. But she has a reputation as firsthand of being part of the reason why we're so disproportionately treated here. And that's because she's not our people either. And we keep putting our hope in a culture that's not ours, not just the African culture, but Christianity. That does not belong to us. Islam does not belong. Buddhism, any religion, it's not going to work for us. The Moors. I remember in the interview that you did in Ground Zero out in Ferguson when Michael Brown got murdered. You have mentioned several, I'm not going to say seven, several different organizations that was out doing some work. And I was kind of like intrigued, like, why didn't you mention your own? I was wondering, why didn't you mention your own organization as a part of the solution to the problem here? And I was kind of,
Well,
go ahead.
I can't speak on, I always project our organization in my mind, so in the remarks, it may have just been a slip of the mind.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
Not make mention of us. Heck, that's why I got our paper.
I got you.
We got our
Yeah.
program. I'm always pushing our program. So, that's just, as you age, you'll find that out.
I got you. You're a young man. You know.
As you age, I do consider myself a young man. That's for real. But you do make, in public sometimes you make slips of the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
That it is.
Yeah. But if I could, I know you got to go. I know you said you committed to 2 hours, and I appreciate your time, you stopping by, and give me those 2 scriptures real quick. You know what I mean? Because I definitely feel like you're gonna come back and we're gonna share some more. Cause what we've been doing, we went out several times before the election, getting the view from the people.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm sorry. So
Go ahead.
you don't vote then?
No, we don't vote. We're not gonna vote. It's actually a sin in the Bible to vote for our oppressors.
Okay.
Joe Biden, Trump, Barack Obama. Even Barack Obama is an African. He's not a so-called black man. He's not an Israelite. Any of the presidents, you know what I mean?
Okay.
It's a sin to have voted for any of them.
So you would not have voted for Kim Gardner, just out of curiosity?
No.
Okay.
No, knowing that who I would vote for an Israelite.
Okay.
I would vote for an Israelite, one that I know
Well,
that would do the work
let me ask
of the
you,
Lord
okay, then.
in that place.
Okay, then.
Kim, if I could real quick, Kim is over child support, right? She's over that department too. And I have seen and heard of countless brothers and how they get treated in those offices still. Even though Kim Gardner took and did not prosecute several thousand cases, several thousand black men. She's getting death threats. She's, white men are just putting their names on them. You know what I'm saying? Their addresses, letting you know, I'm the one saying you should be dead because you did not prosecute them black men. Even though she's doing all of that, she's still a part of the system that is oppressing black people.
Okay, let me ask this
Okay,
question.
go ahead.
Okay, I laid out different options. So, within the context of us in America, what are you, beyond, say, adopting the religion, what are you advocating as far as where our people reside? In terms of, are you talking about separation?
Absolutely.
And physically, where are you advocating separation?
Okay, I'll get there. Get the Ecclesiastes 6 and 13. Yeah, I'll show you why I said this has been taught to me by Commanding General Yohana and other generals and
then
captains in the
my follow-up
school.
question there is, have you personally, or is there a movement to go to the site that you're calling for separation?
Okay, I got you. All right. First, read that real quick, and then I'm gonna answer that first question.
Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 13. Separate thyself from thine enemies, and take heed of thy friend.
Okay, in the Bible, the Lord said the people that, matter of fact, get that for me real quick. Deuteronomy. He was reading it, but then we got cut off. The Bible's going to tell you who our enemy is, okay? And then I'll give you my take on that.
Okay. This is again Deuteronomy 28:68. The Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies.
To your who?
To your enemies.
When we got off them ships, who bought and sold? Who put us on the auction block and sold us like cattle? Who did it? Who did we get sold to? White people. Absolutely. The Lord said we were going to get sold to our enemies. In Ecclesiastes 6 and 13, it says to separate from your enemies. And here's the thing. Our friends are us, each other, our people, other Israelites, other blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. We need to separate from them and come together with ourselves. That's in the Bible also, Zephaniah 2 and 1. It says to gather yourselves together, O nation not desired. That nation is us. We're not desired by anybody, you know. And when you talk about separating, it doesn't mean go back to Africa. It doesn't mean go back to Israel, you know. What it means is to take your spirit away from the people that is responsible for destroying it. When we turn around and go
So
and...
let me, and I'm gonna have to get ready to make a move.
Okay.
I want specifically though, you saying take your spirit away. So are you saying then physically staying still here within America? Because
okay.
as long as you stay within America, you're still surrounded by the evil forces. So and impacted by the evil forces. So again, my question, just like the Hebrew Israelites that that the other side that I know, you know, because I had shared with you, I think I shared with you, that I had been to Pomona, right?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they actually was about a physical separation.
Our general and our captains went to Demona as well.
Okay. So my question is, the end game, or what are past separating spiritually, or the physical reality? What is the end game?
Okay, all right. First, we got to do it spiritually. We got to take our love from them first.
Okay.
Right.
Let's say we have done that.
Okay.
Let's just say
Okay.
hypothetically we've
Now.
done that.
Okay. Now, and second, Commander General Yohana has come up with a plan for us to move to. It was 6 or 7 different cities where we would all turn around and move to where blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians would have a better chance at building our own communities in these 7 cities. Now, it's not going to take full effect until we first wash the brains of our people clean of them loving white people, trying to vote and thinking that them voting is going to fix things, thinking that them going to church is going to fix things, being a Muslim is going to fix things,
Okay.
and it's not.
Okay then, but again, what are just for my information? So what are those 6 or 7 cities?
Now, I would have to look those back up. I would have to look those back up. I don't have that directly in front of me, but I remember he came up with this plan. This plan was came up with this, I want to say 6-7 years ago.
All right, 6
to
or
where-
7 cities. Okay. Well, that'd be interesting because within the context of the 6 or 7 cities, who would be, or are you talking about the Hebrew Israelites seizing the political system, the economic system of those cities, or just coming separating spiritually?
I'm talking about Commanding General Yohana being the man that the Lord chose and left in charge of all of his people until Christ's return. I'm talking about us following him and his plan. It's an economical plan. It's a agricultural plan. He's got farms and all types of things that he is putting in place so that we can hit. We're not just teaching the scripture. Give me Genesis 6:2 and stuff like that, and then that's just it. We are working on what will absolutely help fix blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. And he has the plan, the blueprint is in the Bible. And we've done it before here in America, where we had our own communities. It's not nothing that we cannot do. It's just that we so into everything else, you know what I'm saying, where we just cannot turn around and leave them be. And us come together, and we can start. We could do it like we did out of slavery. We surpassed them by hundreds of years, just in a short 30 years coming out of slavery. We got it going on in our community. We didn't cross that line. We stayed on our side. They stayed on this side, right? And they were looking on our side, jealous of what was it? The movie Rosewood. This white man said, "Hey, nigga got a goddamn piano. I ain't got a piano." You know what I mean? Right. So that right there, we can turn, like you said, with the evil forces, we was living right here, they was living across the line from them. And that's what they was doing fine on their side. And we can do it again. But the thing about that, Rosewood, Black Wall Street, and other, because that wasn't the only black community that was thriving. We had several, but that was the most prominent. And yeah, that was the most prominent. But we could actually do it and have it going on and make it long lasting if we would do it the way God said do it in the Bible. That's the one thing that we did not have in all of our history, is us actually serving the Lord.
Okay, my last question, and then I have to...
I got you, brother.
Okay.
Go ahead, man.
So is there a time frame for those migration to the cities?
Again, I would have to look at that plan again and see exactly, if you projected a time or not. You know what I'm saying? I can't recall it off the top of my head. But I do recall that plan being in place to where, like I said, there's several different cities that he looked into. And he said, okay, now if we turn around and take what God gave us in the Bible and we go and we establish ourselves, it would work. Because that's the one thing that we haven't had, is we hadn't had God and his laws and keeping his laws. What he said, he mentioned. He said King David and Solomon, we was the greatest empire in the world. If we would turn around and obey. It's in the book. It's in the Bible.
Okay, I got you on that. But
go ahead.
Now, so and I'm going to have to be interviewing you.
Come on with it. Come on with it.
So what is, there was a settlement in Demona where there was a call for folks to migrate out of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the position on that?
Okay.
Out of the USA.
I got you. That right there, that didn't work either. Number one, Demona is a waste dump.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so you're critical of that, but I'm just saying, well, let me rephrase the question. This is it. Then I got it.
Okay. Go ahead. Come
on. So, cities in America, is there any plan to go outside of America?
I would have to check with the general. I mean, I trust this man with my whole heart. He hadn't led me wrong yet. I've seen the work that he done before, to where he has consistently, has a track record of consistency and not changing, not wavering, not selling out, not buckling, not getting weak. Standing strong and firm on everything that the Lord said in His Bible. Okay. And I'm taking right up after him, Commanding General Yohana. Yep, I'll give it to you. Brother, write it down for you. And the general, I would love for you to interview, if you want to interview me or whatever you got to build, you want me to come on your platform or whatever, however you want to do, we could do that as well. But yes, definitely, it will work. This right here works. This right here, the Bible, will help get black men off of drugs, off of crime, off of damn selling the drugs, of women stop aborting their babies. I mean, any evil thing you can think of, it has been. I mean, we have some of the people that come from all walks of life, and they had some horrible backgrounds, but now they are great and mighty men and women in this truth, and they have changed. They've actually changed because of Commander General Yohana giving us our actual identity. You know, on that movie Roots, they turned around and beat it off of Kunta Kinte, right? They thought he forgot, but he passed it down to his daughter. You know what I mean? And he never forgot who he was. You know, he was Toby when the master was around, but he knew he was Kunta.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the general is giving us our identity. You know what I mean? We're not Africans. You know what I mean? And we're not Muslims. We are not any of those other people, and we're not supposed to be in their religions as well. And when we do that, we turn around and we call for another Tulsa, Oklahoma bombing, to where the Lord is not with us. We have to serve our God. We have no choice. Our ancestors made an agreement with the Lord, made a covenant with him, and he said, my children, grandchildren, they son is going to follow this and do this. And if we don't do it, we're gonna keep spinning out, we're gonna keep going backwards. We might make some progress, like you said, we might become a basketball player, but hell, basketball players are for themselves. You might come, what's the other, the boxer, what's his name? Floyd Mayweather. You might become Floyd Mayweather in the middle of Gucci, you know, discriminating and making a racist shirt about black people. He goes and spends thousands of dollars on Gucci, you know, so that's going backwards, you know, so.
But I got to keep on moving.
All right, brother, man, we appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you.
I thank you for the time. You can just leave the mic on the table.
Oh,
You can take the water, but you finish it?
I'm drunk both of them.
Okay, no problem. You want some more?
No, I'm good.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming out. And just call me. You got my number?
Yeah,
and
I got
whenever
your
you know, you want me to come through.
Yeah.
And whenever you need me.
Give me your number again.
Okay, give it to me.
You got his number?
Yeah, it has his number on the front.
Oh.
Yeah, I text you too.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, so I'll text you again if you need to
All
log
right.
in or whatever.
All right.
Yep. So yeah, we can definitely dialogue some more. I appreciate you coming out, brother.
All right.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. So like I said, but we are going to get to the solutions to fixing our people. We got them in here,
All
you
right.
know, and that's what we need.
Okay, my
Yep.
brother.
All right now.
Again.
All right, shalom,
All right.
man.
Shalom. All right. Okay.
All right now.
All right. Peace now.
All right. Okay. Politics. Let's get on Camilla Harris, Joe Biden. Man, they got an article. Let me pull one second. I just want to read it. You know what? Yeah, let's read this. Let's get this article real quick. Hold on one second. Let me give it to you. Show you the NyQuil. Show you the what's the other sleep aid? What is it? Melatonin. Melatonin. You know what I'm saying? The sleep. Let me show you the melatonin. Okay, on our people, man, and what they are talking about doing. Just one second. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. This is what Joe Biden said he is going to do as the president. Let's see. Hmm.
To the, you know,
Said what?
the,
I don't think I did.
Joe Biden.
Yeah, okay, I did. Yeah, kind of read that. I'm gonna show you the plan that Joe Biden has for the people. Go ahead, read that.
Okay.
Biden and Harris addressed the nation, basking in victory and pledging to work for unity.
Good night. UNITY. Ain't that what my girl said? Who was it? What's her name?
Baruti.
Queen Latifah. UNITY. The white man, Joe Biden. Okay? It said he's going to unify the people. Go ahead. Come on, read that.
Okay. President-elect Joe Biden claimed victory Saturday night, pledging in an address to the nation to be quote, to be a president who seeks not to divide but unify, end quote.
Look at her. That is like Commander General Yohana said, a big bottle of NyQuil. Something that you take to help you go to sleep.
Right.
With our people steady putting our hopes and our faith and our trust in our oppressors, you're bound to be knocked out sleep. The brother mentioned conscious, man, we're not so conscious. We can't wake up. We can't even get up because here we are again, we about to fall asleep.